Hey guys, thanks for checking out my video. This is a chef's knife. I've had this since culinary school back in the early 90s. And I've carried it with me all these years. Almost every restaurant I've ever worked at, I've used it. And I was playing with it and I'm like, well, I wasn't playing with it, but I was using it and I'm like, I need to make a video about this chef's knife because this has just been with me as long as I've been learning how to cook. Today I'm going to show you how to make wedding soup, my way. A lot of people call it Italian wedding soup. I'm not going to call it Italian wedding soup because I'm German Irish. But anyway, it's an easy soup you can make with cheap ingredients laying around the house. And I'm going to show you how I make it. And if you want to try it, hey, go for it. It's a little different than some people make it. And you'll see why in a bit. So enjoy the video and here we go. For the ingredients in this, it's really simple. You're going to need some chicken stock. You can buy that at a grocery store in the regular cartons already made, or you can make your own. And I'm going to show you how to do that. You're going to need some kind of leafy vegetable. You can use escarole, you can use spinach. I'm using spinach today. Some people use endive. You're also going to need different spices, garlic, onions, those types of things. Pretty much anything you have laying around the house. For the meatballs, you're going to need some kind of good ground beef, whether it's beef. You can use ground pork, ground turkey. You can mix it together. Pretty much, you can do whatever you want. And that's what I like about this, because I'm just making it out of stuff around the house, because with this COVID-19 thing, I don't really like leaving the house, but I'm still trying to cook things with what I have, make it a little interesting for my wife and I. So, anyway, let's get on with it. This is one of my wife's favorites. Hopefully, you'll try it and you'll like it too. So here's the ingredients you're going to work with when you're just making the meatballs. Like I said, this recipe's in about 2 parts if you really want to be technical about it. But anyway, you down here, you got about a half a cup of diced onions. You got, that's 2 cloves of garlic I minced up. We got some breadcrumbs there. We got some about a half cup breadcrumbs, about 2 tablespoons of grated Parmesan cheese, 1 egg, some parsley, and about a pound of ground beef. Now for the ground beef, you can use ground beef. You can mix it with pork. You can use lamb. You can use whatever you want. I just, like I said, this video is about what you might have in your refrigerator right this minute to make this soup. So that's what we got there with our ingredients. And now we're going to mix them together and get it started. Okay, this is how we're going to mix up our meatballs today. There is a special way to do it. It's not that special, but it's a way I recommend doing it. You want to put your wet stuff first, especially the egg. You want to crack your egg in there. And, of course, I don't have a garbage can. It's over here. Doop-de-doop. Kind of beat up your egg first. Then you can start dumping your stuff in. This is the onions, about a half a cup of minced onions. I did that in the food processor. You can cut them up by hand if you want to, but I feel for these meatballs, the smaller the onions, the better. About 2 cloves of garlic minced up in my food processor. Mix that up a little bit. Add your Parmesan cheese. I usually use 2 tablespoons. That looks like it's a little more than 2 tablespoons, but it won't hurt. Because what this is going to do, this is going to help it all bind together so your meatballs don't fall apart when you cook them. This is a half a cup of breadcrumbs. I was thinking if you don't have any breadcrumbs, which some people don't carry them in their house, you could take a slice of white bread, about 2 slices of white bread, remove the crust off of them, break them up in little pieces and throw them in here too. Works just as well. Then we have to get all these ingredients all mixed up well. Get that out of the place for my whisk. Then you take your pound of ground beef and you put it in there. And I did wash my hands. Usually I have gloves, I didn't bring any with me. And you're just going to mix that up. Get down in there, mix it up real good. You'll see this meat I chose, it's an 80-20 ground beef, which is what most people have in their house nowadays because of the COVID virus. They can't afford to get the real expensive stuff. But you can use ground pork, you can use veal, you can use turkey if you want to. Some people like ground turkey. I don't mind ground turkey, it's pretty good. Anyway, you don't want to work it too much because then your meatballs get nasty, so see, just get it all worked up in your little bowl there. And it's going to look like that. Now we're ready to make the meatballs. So now I do it a little differently than most people do. I will roll them out and put them on this cookie sheet. You just take a handful of meat, roll it out like that. About 1 inch. That's actually a little big, but we're going to keep that one because he looks pretty good. I'm just going to roll all these out. It's going to take me a while, so I'll probably fast forward when I edit this. about an inch. Some people like them a little smaller. It's really your own choice. But what you want to do is, the way we're cooking these, you want to keep them uniform. So there's 4 right there. And I'm going to go ahead and roll the rest of these, and we'll continue. I'm sure you don't want to sit here and watch me roll all these. Okay, as you can see, I got all my meatballs rolled out here. I actually got more than I thought I was going to get. But I put them here in this cookie sheet. Now here's something different that I do that a lot of people don't when they make wedding soup. Instead of putting this right into the broth, like a lot of people do, I'm going to put them in the oven at 350 for about 10-15 minutes. And what that does is all the excess fat that's in the meatball meat will drip out, and it won't go into my soup. Because like I said, this is supposed to be a light soup. So the least fat we can put in there, the better. So let's go ahead and get these in the oven and see what we got. So we're going to put these in the oven. I got it set at 350 degrees. Just right like that. Now, if you're wondering, I did not spray the pan. Just adds more grease to it. 350, about 15 minutes. You want to check on them. They'll start getting a little bit of a shell on the outside. That's when you know it's okay to pull them out. And if you pull them out a little too early, that's okay too. As you see, I got my chicken stock boiling there. It's got, what I did was I filled a pan up with some water. I threw a couple chicken thighs in there. I used the thighs because they give a better flavor, more of a deeper, richer flavor. And then I save my scraps whenever I'm cutting up celery and onions and whatnot. You throw that in there and boil that for a while. And you can boil that for about a half an hour if you want to. And it gives you some spices in there. I think I put basil and put some garlic in there. You pretty much have free reign of whatever you want to put in your stock. But anyway, you want to boil that for about, I like to boil for about a half an hour. That might be a little long, but I want all those flavors to come out of those items and saturate that water to give me a good chicken base. You could always just go to the store or just use chicken stock that you can buy. Some people have it laying around. I, in this case, don't. So I threw this together real quick. Now we can see our chicken stock's done. It's been boiling for about a half an hour. Now what I'm going to do is here's the chicken thighs I put in there. Boy, they shrank. That's going to be a good broth. Piece of celery I let boil for about a half an hour. We're going to take those out and set them aside. So what we're actually going to do with these later, I don't know if I'll make a video about it or not, but I like to make the thighs. Some people like to mince it up and put it in their soup. My wife doesn't really like the chicken. There's some onions. My wife doesn't really like chicken in her wedding soup. So I'm going to leave that out, but it's not going to go to waste. I'm going to use them for some chicken salads. We're going to have chicken salad sandwiches with our soup. Get those onions out of there. And there, we got a nice clear broth going on here. I didn't use any chicken base or anything. That's completely chicken stock from these chicken thighs, a couple stalks of celery, about a half an onion. You see it all broke up when it boiled. And I threw some garlic in there. Just a quick and dirty, well, it's not dirty, but a quick chicken broth you can make. And like I said, you can use the box chicken broth if you have it. But I didn't have it, and I wanted to make wedding soup, so this is what you do sometimes. All right, next step. Our meatballs are just about done. We're going to take them out and see what we got. I'm going to show you how to finish this. I don't know if you can see this or not, but I've added some water to my chicken stock because it was kind of running down. It evaporates. And that's okay because it'll evaporate, but the spices and flavors will all stay in there. It just reduces. But I didn't want it to reduce that much because the next step, we're going to put in our pasta. Now I choose this here. I guess it's called a cini. I just call it little wedding soup noodles. And as you can see, I'm carefully measuring it as to how much to put in there. Some people don't put pasta in their soups either. There's different ones you can use. You can use, I've seen people throw macaroni in there. But anyway, you want to get a nice mix of noodles in there. They're falling right through the strainer because they're that tiny. But they're in there. In fact, we're going to put some more in there. The pasta is one of my favorite parts in this soup. So we're going to do that. We're going to let that come to a boil. And it's going to take about, they say it takes like 10 minutes to cook that pasta, but I only boil it for about 3 minutes. Because I'll tell you why, the soup's going to sit and the pasta's going to suck up more hot water and it'll eventually be done. And also, people will put in some kind of a green leafy vegetable. Some people use escarole, you can use endive. Today we're using frozen spinach because, like I said, this is a recipe about what you might have around the house. So we're just going to throw a whole bag of spinach in there. It's probably a little much for the soup for how much I put in there. But remember, I'm making this for me and my wife. This is how we like it. My wife loves spinach. And that's one of her favorite parts of this soup. And we're just going to bring that to a boil. By the time this boils again, our meatballs should be done cooking, and I'll show you what to do with them. All right then. Okay, as you might notice here, I had to change pots. I always do this. I put way too much guts in it than I did the broth. So I'm going to have to add a little chicken broth to this later, which I will. But it's time to take the meatballs out of the oven. They've been in here about 15 minutes. As you can see, if you can see this, all this fat dripped out of these meatballs as they bake. Now they're not done. Like, you wouldn't want to pick one up and eat one, I wouldn't think. But, and I got a little helper here. Move. That's my little kitchen helper. So, okay, now they're almost cooked. So what we're going to do is we're going to take these gently and set them into the broth where they'll finish cooking. And that way they won't be hard on the outside. Now you take your trusty tongs. Always got to use a test click. And you can gently pick them up and put them in one at a time, which takes forever. Or get yourself a slotted spatula. That way you're not picking up that grease. And just slide gently under there. Set them in your soup. You get all those in now. Your first instinct might be to put these in a colander to drain all the grease out like you would if you're making taco meat or something. I don't recommend doing that because what you're going to do is it's going to break up your meatballs and then you're just going to have hamburger soup. And I don't think anybody's going to like that. So the best way is just a slotted spatula if you're in a hurry, or the best way singly with a pair of the trusty tongs here. Just whatever you do, gently put them in the soup. You see my soup is still boiling. I've got my spinach in there. I've got my pasta in there. We're just about done, believe it or not. Usually my pups down here want to sample the meatballs, but we're not going to let them do that today. They can do it later. So I'm just going to let this, I'm not even going to stir it. Well, you know what, we're going to just lightly stir it just to make sure nothing's sticking to the bottom. Just gently go through there without breaking up the meatballs. Because remember, they're not completely cooked yet. I'm going to let this boil for another 5 minutes. Then we got us some good wedding soup. For the most part, it's done. And there's what it can look like when you're done. It's got meatballs are all nice and cooked now, and I serve it with some crackers and a little bit of Parmesan cheese on top of it. And it's just delicious, and your family's going to love it if you choose to make it. One thing I did want to add while I'm thinking of it, if y'all notice when I put it together, I didn't put any salt in there. I don't use salt, especially in a soup that I like to eat crackers with, because the crackers have salt on it, so if you put the crackers in the soup, it makes it a little too salty. And I figured that, you know, if you're not going to eat crackers with it, then go ahead and throw some salt in there. But once again, I'm trying to keep it a little bit healthy, so I don't have to be fat guy in the tiny kitchen anymore. But anyway, there you have it. Leave some comments if you want. Okay, thanks for taking the time to watch my video. I just wanted to do this little ad thing on the end of it. I did make some mistakes, and if I didn't mention them in the video, first of all, I forgot to put parsley in the meatballs, which isn't a big deal, but I did forget. So before somebody puts a comment, "Hey, you didn't put the parsley in the meatballs." Yeah, I know, I forgot. Another mistake I made was I made way too many guts and not enough chicken stock. So you want to keep that in mind when you're making this. I am so bad at that. Every time, I'm used to cooking for armies. I'm used to cooking for huge banquets. And so I do it every time. So now me and my wife are going to have like 3 gallons of wedding soup laying around the house, which is a couple days before Thanksgiving. I'm sure I can take it over to my father-in-law's house where we're going on Thursday to enjoy food. And at least I won't be empty-handed. And who knows, I probably made a couple other mistakes. If you notice I wasn't wearing shoes today, oh well, it's my house. I can do what I want. All right, once again, thanks for watching. I don't get paid for this. I'm not asking for any money. Just give me a couple likes, and if you like the video, and put a request in down below too. And maybe the next time I feel like doing a video, I'll cook that for you. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Oh, you need some soup now.